Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to take a look at the Eldar. The Eldari, we're going to do a range review for these fancy lads and lasses. Slanesh was all your fault, I hope you're proud of yourselves. And we're going to start with the newest models in the range, of course, in the form of Jainzar and the Howling Banshees. And in fact, it'll be fun to do a bit of a comparison as we get further in, to compare the older Aspect Warriors with the new updated Aspect Warriors. That could be interesting. So yeah, let's just go straight in. Let's just go straight into it. I still like Jainzar. I still think Jainzar looks really good. I will say that I don't know that this is the best angle from which to take pictures of Jainzar, because this is going to sound like a weird thing to say. Of course, it's three-dimensional. It's a model, but this is a model whereby the pose honestly makes it so that some angles aren't as flattering as others. I almost feel like you need to pick it up and turn it round, or just use this on the site to actually get a proper appreciation for the motion that Jainzar is in. When you view it all the way round, it looks so much more dynamic and so much more fluid, and as though there's like deadly grace going on. When you look at just that picture, it actually doesn't look all that graceful, and it doesn't look all that dynamic. It looks like an isolated, like, static pose. When actually, when you turn around, it's not like that at all. I think this is one of those models where overall it is really good. I really like the hair. The overall feel of the model is really, really good, but it's one that does not photograph well. It's a similar thing with Sanguinius. I could not stand what they'd done with Sanguinius when they first showed it off. Seeing Sanguinius from multiple angles, suddenly that model starts to make way more sense, and it looks so much better when you're able to actually get a good look at every aspect of it, as opposed to just this one angle that you get on the website. Jainzar is very much like that. I think you need to be able to see from every angle to properly appreciate it. It's a really good reimagining. It's a really good update. They haven't changed too much. They've kept the armor and the hair especially. I'm glad they kept the hair. It would have been weird to not have Jainzar's massive hair. It's like a properly like iconic part of the model. The fact they kept it, I'm super glad about that. I think overall they did a really good job with it. The same with the Howling Banshees. The Howling Banshees look decent. They don't look all that different from the old ones. They just look newer. The detail is more crisp. The poses are still reminiscent, but they're just slightly better. You know, they're just more modern is all it is. Again, I think they did the right thing in that they didn't change a huge amount. They just looked at the old ones, went, okay, what if we did this, but more delicate and in plastic? And that's all they did. They didn't need to do anything else. In fact, it's kind of like that with a lot of the Aspect Warrior stuff, to be honest. Good models that just need the lightest touch refresh. Yeah, they still look dead good. They look really good. I think they did a great job with those two. Now, onto slightly older models. Not massively old, but still. The Spirit Seer, I do like. Again, I'm going to get fussy about the fact we have yet another hero with a foot on a rock, which that is one of those things where it feels like once you notice it, that's it. You see it literally everywhere. I really like the robes on this model. I really like those. It does a good job of being kind of recognisably priest-like, but also incredibly alien due to the symbols on it and the staff that's being held. There's some nice little details on it. Overall, I think it's a nice looking model. I have to say the Eldar helmets I really, really like. I don't know what it is, but they just look so I was going to say they look so alien. Of course they do. It's a Xenos race, but the the kind of blank feel of them, the lack of recognisable features, like on the Spirit Seer here, where there's no eyes, there's no mouth, there's no nose, it is just completely blanked out. It adds a level of... I think it adds a kind of level of threat to it that, yeah, when you've got a Space Marine with a helmet that's got a skull on it, that is overtly threatening. That is overtly, I am death and I am here for you. The kind of mysterious, unknowable aspect of just a completely blank faceplate that you can't see through and that has no detail on it whatsoever, that's a different kind of... It's like a different kind of threat, a different attitude, kind of achieving the same thing. It's I don't know, I really, really like it. But yeah, Spirit Seer is a decent model. I will say I think the Farseer is also pretty decent. Not as big a fan of the helm on the Farseer as the Spirit Seer. Obviously, different units, so they do have different details and different gear, but it's kind of a mix. And the long chin I've never been a big fan of. I've just not really ever liked that. Aside from standing on a rock again, I think it's actually quite a cool pose as well. It's so bad. As soon as you notice, it's like, oh no, everyone's standing on rocks. Make him stand on something more interesting, please. I'd take him standing on a dead Space Marine. Although then again, that then means that Farseer is forever standing on a dead Space Marine, and you know that's not appropriate to every game you play. The one downside to having distinct units on as base material is I'm fighting Tyranids. Why am I standing on a Space Marine's head? It gives a bit of uniqueness to it, but it also makes it a little bit odd in cases. Yeah, I think the Farseer is pretty decent as well. I do like the outstretched hand. Very, very psycho. Now the Wraith Guard. Wraith Guard and Wraith Blades is the other one, isn't it? Which, funnily enough, I've just realised I don't think showed up in the in the search, which is annoying. But, I mean, essentially these guys, but with a sword and shield, or an axe and something. This is a great looking unit. It's really good. The elongated heads that they have, completely blanked out, there's no detail on them. It makes for such a cool contrast to the body, where you've got those kind of, almost like that kind of gem-studded look to them. It works really well. It's a great contrast between the head and the body. They look like beefy and strong, but at the same time they're still very slender, and they kind of have this weird contradictory nature for me, where they look like you if they want to walk towards you, you cannot stop them. You're not going to be able to do anything about it. You're just going to have to deal with the fact that they are walking towards you, especially so for the melee versions. But at the same time, they're not too chunky. They're not too over the top. They still have that same kind of sleek Eldar feel, whilst also appearing heavily armoured. I think that's honestly quite a difficult thing to pull off, and I think it's been done really well with these. The massive the things coming out at the back and the big collar. The big collar I've never been that sure about, but to be honest, I think the head would look a bit weird if the collar wasn't there. I say collar, the thing that's just sticking out of the back under the head. It doesn't go all the way around, so I suppose technically it's not a collar. But yeah, the Wraith Guard do look decent. They feel like a midway point almost between the Wraith Lord and just a standard Eldar, which makes sense, but I think it would have been easy to make them too chunky and therefore not that Eldarish, and making them too lithe and not look like heavy infantry. Instead, there's a really nice balance with these. Yeah, I do like them. Like them a lot. Now, speaking of the Wraith Lord, I'd love this model. Really do. I really do love this model. I think maybe in some ways it's showing its age a little now. It's not ancient, but I feel like there's just certain things Not present on this one. For me, it's the guns mounted on the wrists. But then, as you know, any of you who've watched these before, generally speaking, wrist-mounted guns aren't really my thing anyway. So that's not like a criticism. That's just a personal opinion thing. They still look decent though. They still look decent. I'm just trying to think when this version of the Wraith Lord was released. I really can't remember. Yeah, that's the one thing that I'm just not sure about. I suppose it's not even wrist-mounted guns. It's guns mounted kind of on the forearm, I guess. But they look kind of fast but heavy. And again, the head is of course very similar to the Wraith Guard, and it looks really good. I never know whether I like the ones that are kept totally blank more, or the ones that have like patterns drawn on, or even faces in some cases. I'm never sure which ones I like more. See, that's really cool. I really like that, but I don't know whether I prefer it to it just being a completely blank space. I mean, obviously, like in terms of artistic talent, drawing a planet on the side of it, I would suggest, even though white is a very difficult colour to get nice and smooth, maybe a little bit more tricky to do a decent planet than to get a good coat of white on there. But for me, I think just a solid colour with a bit of edge highlight just really brings out how alien it is. Yeah, solid unit of the Wraith Lord. Now the Wraith Knight, I'm afraid, is one of my favourite units out of the range. If I remember right, there was a point where these things were absolute terrors and complete nightmares to deal with. I somehow have not played anyone who plays Eldar that has one, which, I don't know, maybe I'm just like the 1% of people who've not had to face one of these on the tabletop, but you can definitely, I mean, you can see the kind of improvement in terms of like finer detail between this and this. Admittedly, the picture isn't doing that a lot of favours, but also the paint is better. But yeah, the Wraith Knight, the only thing that bugs me is it feels like this should be a Wraith Lord and the Wraith Lord should be a Wraith Knight, because then it goes in terms of height, doesn't it? Because it goes Guard, Knight, Lord. But because the Wraith Lord was already a thing when they made this, I'm assuming they were like, well, it's a Wraith unit, it has to have a Wraith unit name. Knight sounds cool, let's do Knight. But the hierarchy feels weird. It messes with my kind of the smaller thing is the lesser important thing, which, to be honest, doesn't make a huge amount of sense. But since when does any of the stuff make sense? Oh, I do like it though. I do like it. The default pose for it is, I think pretty decent. Again, it has that nice feel of either about to hurtle towards you or just coming to a stop. Either way, it still looks fast, and again, it's beefy and it's tanky, but it's not excessively so. They've not spoilt the lines of the Eldar with this. It feels a bit more, I don't know, like Tau in a way. I think it's just the scaling up of it. I was going to say it feels a bit Gundam, but I don't think that's really very fair, because I don't like the actual lines of it aren't particularly. Just a sleek, tall mech is, I don't know. I really like them, especially given that I've put like a good number of knights together recently. Because they're not sleek, they're just massive, lumps on legs. So looking at this, it's like, oh, it looks so smooth and quick. It doesn't look like a lumbering idiot. It just looks like it can zip around and melt your face. It's quality. Oh, let's have a quick look, actually. Ooh, that's some nice blue on that shield. Doing all the helmet one colour as well. Like that. Oh, that's a cool colour scheme. Yeah, I like that. Nice. Okay. Onto some zippy, speedy lads. The Viper, I think, is a decent looking unit. It still looks sleek, still looks fast. The addition of the the turret on the back, the manned turret, the fact that it is... okay. Going back to the Invader ATV, if it was a setup that involved an independent swiveling turret like that on the back, that would have been way better. This looks like it has... I mean, it looks fast. It also looks capable of putting out a good amount of damage. You've got a gun on the back that seems to have a pretty much like 360-degree firing arc, assuming that the turret can go all the way round. It just looks more manoeuvrable. It looks more capable. Does it have a gun on the front as well, or is that like a targeting thing? I'm not sure, to be honest. It's difficult to tell. Oh yeah, that looks like a shuriken catapult at the very front of it. So yeah, you can fire towards the front, and then you've got a larger gun on the back. I think it looks decent. I especially like the kind of ribbed nature there. Get your mind out of the gutter. The it looks like almost a little bit organic under the hull there, which is fun. Yeah, that's yeah. The Viper's, I think the Viper's decent. The Wind Riders, I think, will always look decent. This is one of those designs I don't even know what you'd do to update this, honestly. I really don't know what you'd do. It's simple, but it's sleek and it's no nonsense. You can see how it, like, at a glance, you're just looking at it, you know how it works. You know it's slightly armoured, you know it's fast. You can see the underslung gun super easily. You can see how the how the engine functions, you know, with the intake on the bottom and then the jet out the back. I think it's a really well designed model because you look at it and you just know what it is, what it does straight away. There's no kind of, oh, I wonder what that thing is. It's like, oh, okay, so those are fast, manoeuvrable, and they're not going to have any armour. It's just super clear. It's really well done. I think maybe you could get away with putting a few more details on there, maybe. Although having said that, I don't know if you need any more details on it than that. Yeah, I really don't know what you would do to update these. Maybe the riders could get a bit more detail on them, maybe. But the actual jetpacks themselves are, yeah, I think they're really, really nicely done. Yeah, they're good. To be honest, a lot of the Eldar range I really like. So the support weapons. There's only a couple of things I would say actually out of this range that I don't like. Support weapons are one of them. Now I get that having, like, no matter what race you are, like what faction you are, or whatever, having some sort of artillery or support battery is a good idea. Like it's one of those, like, battlefield roles that pretty much everyone has something for, and why would you not have something that can lay down a bit of fire from a distance? But for some reason, these have just never struck me as looking quite right. Bits of them do. Like, the actual platforms they're on, reminiscent of the like the Wind Rider bikes and the Fire Prism. They have that similar kind of platform shape. You've got the bunch of little engines keeping it afloat. That's fine. The actual gunner's seat looks okay. It shares a bit with the Viper, which is nice. I think for me, the thing that really just doesn't look right is the shield in front, because it looks too plain. Everything else is like curved and rounded, and you've got these lines going through them, like these intersecting lines. And then you've got that shield on the front, which, yeah, it has got a bit of a curve to it at the sides, but it's flat on top, it's flat at the bottom. There's not enough tying it in. Sticking like a gem on it is fine, but it feels like it needs more than that. It feels like it needs something, I don't know, more enclosing. Like if it wrapped over, like if it was more curved maybe and wrapped over the gunner, so it came down behind the seat. I don't know. I really don't know. It just doesn't fit for me. It just doesn't look quite right. Every time I see them, I'm like, that bit works. What? That just doesn't work. I don't know why it looks so off, but it just does. Again, probably completely, most likely, just a subjective nitpick, but yeah, just one of those things. One of those things that's never gelled. Like, I've never found myself looking at it going, oh no, actually no, it's fine. It's just never quite looked right to me. As a concept, it's fine. And it's all the shield. It's such a minor thing. But you can't help it, can you? Sometimes, like, the minor things are the things that bug you. Now, the Hemlock Wraith Fighter and the Crimson Hunter, two of the best looking aircraft in 40k. I would say that I think actually on reflection at my favourite aircraft in 40k are the Dark Eldar aircraft. They look super, super good. But these, close second, I think. For a start, as always, the main point of reference for aircraft that I always use are the Imperium aircraft, but that's only because you see so damn many of them. They are ubiquitous because, of course, Space Marines are everywhere, and so you tend to see Imperium fighters and aircraft a lot more often than other races, just by sheer dint of numbers. And it's just always nice when you can look at something and go, now I don't know if that actually would fly, but at least it looks believable that it would. Like, in terms of actual aeronautic design, no idea if this would stay in the air, but the fact is, it's not a giant box. It actually has some form of sleek pattern to it. It kind of looks feasible, which is a damn sight more than you can say for every Imperium aircraft. I mean, I will say, the Valkyrie, perhaps, the Vulture, those, I think I can see it. It's things like the giant floating shoebox for the Space Wolves, and the Storm Raven, and the... Oh dear. Anyway, we're not talking about those, we're talking about this. And it's a good-looking aircraft. It is a good-looking aircraft. I've never been too sure about that thing on the spine of it. It feels a bit tacked on for no reason, to be honest. I feel like it could have been a lot more sleek and still looked perfectly serviceable as an Eldar aircraft. I feel like there's enough extra stuff on here that you don't need the kind of weird wave dip thing that's stuck on top of this. It could have easily just been a smooth curve down into the hull, and instead you've got this like kind of semicircle cutout thing going all along the back of it. I don't think it really needed that, because it would have been fine to have the ones over the engines, because they're not particularly obtrusive. They're not, like, they're pretty small, but they are there, and you can clearly see them. It's got the kind of patterns on the back of the wings that are very reminiscent of like the Fire Prism, and yeah, overall, I think it could have done without that. That's my only real issue with it, and it's not really a big issue because it still looks good. And to be honest, I'm pretty sure if you really wanted to, you could file that down, or just cut it off a bit and plasticard your way to a smooth downward curve. But it's a minor nitpick with this one, because overall it's a really good looking aircraft, good looking vehicle. Yeah, I like it. I think part of it is the fact that it's the fact the Crimson Hunter doesn't have that and still looks fine. Yes, it's got the big kind of extra wings. I don't even know what you'd call those across the engines, but it doesn't have any of that kind of Eldar cutout pattern on it, and it still looks like Eldar. Obviously, the weapons help because they are unmistakably Eldar, but it shares enough with the other vehicles in the range that I just don't think you need it. That said, I don't think I like the Crimson Hunter as much as I do the Wraith Fighter. I feel like the Wraith Fighter is a bit sleeker. The Crimson Hunter is somehow, despite the lack of ornamentation on those extra wings, which I'm sure have got a real name, but I don't know what it is. Somehow the Wraith Fighter looks a little sleeker. But they both look good. They both look decent. Yeah, it's a nice aircraft. Nice. Okay, so Night Spinner, Fire Prism. I mean, again, this is something where if they did a new one, I don't know what you'd even change, because it's such a core part of the army, and it's so recognisable, and I think it looks good. I don't think it's aged badly at all, these, because they've been around for a while at this point, and they still look decent. Maybe less of the transparent plastic going on, especially on. I mean, the Fire Prism. I don't like that transparent section at all. I'd imagine. I mean, we'll have a look at the community efforts and see how many of them have kept that and how many have got rid of it. The turret matches the base of it really nicely. It basically just looks like a smaller vehicle put on top. Which, to be honest, I don't mind at all. Yeah, it's like the foundation for the other Eldar vehicles. It looks sleek. It still looks dangerous. It's nice. I think it looks pretty good. We've already seen these guys. We'll take another look. Yeah, so colouring the plastic does a huge amount for the gun, I think. Yeah, I'm seeing a distinct trend here. That for a second I was like, Tau. There's some. I like that. Yeah, I like that with colouring the plastic and with the purple, and then doing the cockpits to match. That's nice. Oh, that's a nice glass effect as well. Jesus. Oh man, that's a lot of work. God damn. That is some patience. Looks good though. Oh, what is that? An actual part of the weapon? Hang on. I don't think I've ever seen that before. That strikes me as perhaps being a little extra something put on for a bit of flair there. And then finally, yeah, that works super well. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, good model. I mean, Night Spinner is pretty much the same thing, just with a different gun. Yeah, I do like that. I do like that glass effect. Nicely done. Okay, we also have the Webway gate. That's fairly recent, and the Webway gate looks solid. It's creepy. I love how creepy it is. The two statues on the side with the plumed helmets that are both looking like they should be statues but also part of the structure. That's a really nice touch. I like that. It's alien, it's weird, it's a little bit off. Yeah, pretty perfect. I'm liking the alternate colour schemes as well they've got on here. Like that. That's cool. That's awesome. Okay, oh, the Avatar of Khaine. Getting on a bit now. Getting on a bit. Needs a refresh, this. Definitely needs a refresh. It's more cartoony than the rest of the range now. The detail's fine. It could do with being a little bit better here and there. It's just a bit chunkier. It's just a bit thicker than on a lot of the more recent stuff. Also, I don't know that the heavy metal team would paint like the horns the same now. I think they'd do something a bit different for that. Because that by itself dates it a bit. Cloth is a bit thick and unwieldy and doesn't quite match the pose all that well. There's a lot of curl at the bottom, but not that much actually in the structure of the cloth itself. Yeah, the Avatar needs a bit of TLC, I think. Needs a bit of an update. Also needs to not get smacked about in the lore quite as much. Oh, that's nicely painted, but that's an upsetting amount of bendy sword going on there. I mean, the one in the kind of official picture isn't too bad for bendy. It's a bit weird, but it's not terrible. Also, that hair definitely needs an update. That is not good hair anymore. You compare that to Jane Zar, it's just worlds apart. Yeah, okay, but could do with some love. Now, the Guardian squad. I've not put the black Guardian squad and the black Wind Rider ones in because, as far as I can tell, they're just the same models but painted black. So, do correct me if I'm wrong in that respect, but it looked like exactly the same kit. These, I think, again, the bodies are okay. The actual official paint scheme that's used here, it's looking old now, which is not helping how old the models are. Painted differently, they don't look like anywhere near as old as they actually are. The heads are rough. I will say that the unhelmeted heads are rough. They look way too 90s. The eyes are, they just don't look. They just don't look great. They don't look great at all. I'd say the models themselves aren't terrible. It would be nice to see a fresh batch of them painted up and used on the website because I think that would help a lot. To be honest with you. The detail isn't as crisp as it could be. But then again, they are getting on now. They are getting on. Pretty sure. I'm trying to remember. I think these might be the same ones that were being used when I first started playing in 3rd. I think. I may be wrong. I'm trying to work out a way of finding out exactly when all this stuff was released, but it's kind of difficult to find a decent resource for that. If there's any suggestions for places that do keep that information, then do let me know, because I am trying to make it so that I have a better idea as to when various things came out. It's just some stuff you can search for and be like, oh, that's when that came out, it was that year. Other stuff just doesn't show up at all. So yeah, if you've got any suggestions for that, then do let me know. It's okay. It's okay, but they definitely get on a bit. Could really do with a refresh. I mean, the general gauge for things is spruce because Games Workshop got so much better at packing stuff in you see stuff like this, it's like, well, yeah, these things must be ancient, because just so much wasted space. It's unreal. Also, I will say, maybe the pictures are just aren't great, but these look like an absolute pain to put together. They really do. So you've got what? Front and back of the... Is that front and back of the chest there? Then the legs... Oh, plug into each other to form the waist, which then goes into the chest itself. Alright, okay, maybe that's not as bad as I thought it was. I really thought for a second that was way worse. Still could be easier, but I suppose not terrible. Okay. The Warlock skyrunner, I really like it. The jet bike has got a bit of extra added ornamentation on it, which is nice. The actual Warlock itself looks cool. Decent helmet on the Warlock. A nice mix of the blank faceplate of the Spirit Seer and kind of alteration to the farseer as well. The eyes being where they are and kind of hooded over slightly. Makes it look like he's frowning at you, which he probably is. But yeah, I do like the Warlock. The Warlock Skyrunner. Oh, God, the Warwalker. This, along with the support weapon, this is the other thing that I don't like out of this range. I've never liked the Warwalker. I've never liked it. I just think it looks goofy. It has all the bits that should make it look graceful, like all the other Eldar stuff. The Eldar range as a whole has a grace and a poise to it, and this does not have any of that. It just does not do it for me at all. The silhouette is weird. There's a kind of a cockpit going on, which he's sitting in, obviously, but it's got the see-through shield, except his head is sticking out the top of it. The legs look like they should be graceful, but instead look clunky. Why do they look so clunky though? Why do they look so clunky? Let's have a quick. Oh, is it it's the backwards joint to the leg, isn't it? Normal leg. Oh. Kind of backwards jointed leg, but also not. Yeah, that looks manoeuvrable and like it could get places quickly. Oh, wrong one. That just looks... No. It looks spindly. Somehow, this looks, to me... It's going to sound like such a contradiction. Somehow, to me, this looks both spindly and heavy and slow and fragile. Now, that I'm essentially contradicting myself, but that's what it looks like to me. It just doesn't work at all for me. I know I keep clarifying for me because I'm aware that there will be people who really like this model, but it just doesn't. This is one of those, just doesn't do it for me. Just does not do it for me at all. It just, no matter what angle I try, it just doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. I'm sure they have their place, but for me that place would be not in the collection because I wouldn't want to own it. Ugh, no. Sorry, Warwalker. You don't get a pass. You just don't get a pass. You just look off. You look weird and off. Now that's a little better. That is a little better. Also, I think the feet are too hoof-like. Now, I know, again, the Wraith Knight has got hoof-like feet, but it's like a mix. It's like a mix of normal foot and hoof foot. It just looks like a weird malformed horse. I just not... No, I can't. I'm trying to find positives and I just can't. I just don't like it at all. It just doesn't look good. Go away, Warwalker. Let's go to the farseer skyrunner. Pretty much the same as the Warlock, just with with a farseer helmet, which we've already talked about. But still, again, I like the jetbike so much. I can't complain about it. The Dire Avengers, I really like the Dire Avengers. I think it's one of the best looking units the Eldar have. No idea as to how useful they are, but I will say that they to me they look pretty solid. Pretty solid. Although the lead chap there seems to have a malformed head. Can you see that? It's all wonky. Is it just because his head's tilted? Or is that like a weird glitch that's happened with the picture? That's odd. That is really weird. Why does it look like that? Shame, really. But I mean, it's hard not to like the Dire Avengers because they have a similar style to the Wraith Guard, the Wraith Lord, and the Wraith Knight. They look that bit more chunky, bit more heavily armoured, but still pretty sleek. Plus the crests on the head is just perfect. That added layer of fancy does a lot. It does a lot. I'm not sure about the wrist-mounted weapon there, to be honest. Feels a bit point. Oh, mind you, no, he's got two swords. I take it back. Well, he's got a sword, a spear, and a wrist-mounted gun. That dude's packing heat, isn't he? What the hell? See, his face isn't wonky. Maybe it's the way you put the helmets together, or are they just one piece? They're not one piece, are they? Are they? We've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. Maybe they are all one piece. That is weird, though. Ooh. Maybe there is a bit of a weird issue with the head then, because that is definitely a bit on the wonk. Weird. Otherwise, apart from the wonky face, decent unit. Oh, Eldrad Ulthran, excellent model. Love it. The staff is great. The big old face on the top of the triangle, I really like it. The little dangly bits coming off it, like the extra ornamentation. Yeah, it's. I really like this model. Looks no nonsense. Looks kind of regal. The cloth is pretty decent as well, not too thick. Yeah, that's pretty decent. I think all the ornamentation across the chest and down the front of the robe is well done as well. That's a very nicely painted sword too. Ooh, oh, look at that! Look at the gleam on that. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, look at the detail on that face. It just looks cool. Looks weird and creepy and cool. One of the tallest hats, do you think? One of the tallest hats in the game? I think possibly one of the tallest hats in the game. Suits him though. Wears it well. And finally, the Falcon. Because why not finish with a classic? How can you? I just don't know what you do to change it. It just looks good. It looks good. I feel like I'm overusing the word iconic doing these range reviews, but I think Eldar and I think Farseers and I think Falcon or Falcon platform at the very least. I think Wind Riders and Wraith Lords. Those are the four units that immediately pop into my head, and I really do think the Falcon and the other Falcon platform vehicles, they're aging super well. They look really decent. Let's have a quick look at it. Oh, that's nice. Oh, lovely work. Yeah, I really like the kind of blend into the kind of starscape and the and the wings on the other side of that. Very nicely done. Oh, that's fun as well. Oh, yeah, I like that. Oh, that's nice, though. That's nice. Let's go back to this lad. Let's finish off with this lad. We're going to call it there. There is, of course, more of the Eldar range to go, but we are 45 minutes in, and this video will otherwise be the length of a feature film, which is ridiculous because no one will watch it. So, we will do a part 2, covering the Aspect Warriors and the special characters, which we've talked about some of them in the past, I believe. Watch me contradict things I've already said when we get to those. So yeah, we will come back and we will do the rest of the range in a part 2. Overall, I do like the Eldar range a lot. Eldari, Eldar, whatever. I do like it a lot. You know, I have my favourites, but by and large, it is solid. It is a solid range. There is very little in there that I think looks bad, and even then, the stuff that I think looks bad is obviously like really subjective stuff, like the War Walker and the support battery. Like, and even then, in the case of the support battery, I don't want him to say it looks bad. Bad. It's just not to my taste. The War Walker, I think, looks garbo, but again, it's all just subjective opinion, isn't it? Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what your favourite unit out of the range is down below that we've covered, or just out of the whole range as a whole, and then I'll know what to look forward to next time. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video subscribe, all that stuff, and as always, there's an affiliate link for Element Games in the description, which you can use to support the channel if you would like to. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.